is the Athletic Football Show.
Welcome to the Athletic Football Show. I'm Robert Mays. Joining me tonight is my good friend Nate Tice. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well. That was a first half, kind of a lot of different segments during that game, and also just a lot of interesting things. I also think the Lions' first 15 might be the most powerful thing in the league right now. First 15 plays of their offense might be the best thing going in football, and that includes the Dolphins' offense. But I'm doing very well. That was a pretty entertaining game. At least some interesting stuff happened, but at least two solid teams. I think the Lions for sure are putting together some impressive performances right now so far to start the season.
It's a great moment for the Lions.
Yeah.
You've been little brother for so long in the NFC North, like Bears fans and like I've had to endure over the last 30 years. You've had nothing but Hall of Fame quarterback play from the Packers. It's funny, every time I open True Media, which is the stat service that we use, if you don't select the season, it gives you the entire sample size since 2000. Yeah. And every time I open the passing stats, the Packers are at the top of EPA per dropback. And it's just a sad little reminder every single time I open it about how good they've been over the last 2 decades. And the Lions have also had to endure that. And this is a moment for them where they feel like a complete team going on the road and beating up a pretty good Packers team. I know they're banged up in certain areas, the offensive line, and that's important. We'll get into that. But this is a nice little moment for Lions fans thinking this could be a different sort of season, a massive step forward. This is an entry into that because this team looks a lot more complete, just top to bottom, has so many guys contributing than it even did when they were promising last season.
Their defense needed guys to step up, new and people that were returning, because that was what was interesting. Was like, okay, they've reconfigured the DB room, and we see the impact of that as far as their defense. Brian Branch, of course, though I didn't, he should have been out by the end of the game. But anyways, he is just a fantastic football player. But you saw other guys that they added this offseason. Sutton stepped up, had a big play. But then guys that they also had before. Ali McNeil, the defensive tackle, is having a fantastic couple of weeks against the Falcons, and now this game against the Packers. I mean, he's really standing out. And a lot of their defensive linemen are the guys that they returned from last year. So that was something we wanted to see. We're like, oh man, they were pretty bad on defense. They improved, but it still was like 24th. They weren't great. It really feels like they, much like other defense we've talked about in a positive light this year, are getting an identity, and they're very aggressive, and they're just playing really good football right now. They've done it for a couple of weeks against some okay offenses too.
They deserve so much credit for the player acquisition and player development that they've displayed over the last couple of years. The drafting and developing is the most important. Obviously, you got guys like Penei Sewell turning into stars. You look at what Amon-Ra St. Brown has been, what Ali McNeil is becoming. He's been fantastic over the last couple of weeks. Aiden Hutchinson, obviously. For me, it's some of the smaller acquisitions that they've made. Going to get Josh Reynolds off the street and having Josh Reynolds be a useful piece within your offense. He was available to anybody in the NFL. John Kaminsky is like that for me. John Kaminsky was a guy who was forgettable in Atlanta, a guy with a lot of tools coming out of the draft. I believe he went to Boston College, was a really good tester coming out. And he goes to Detroit. He's not a superstar, but he's the best version of himself there. And that's what they've done over the last couple of years. They've really brought out the best versions of pretty much every single guy that they've brought into that building. I know the fantasy guys don't want to hear about that with Jahmyr Gibbs right now, but in time, I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to be a nice contributor to that Lions offense.
That's the thing. And I've kind of been throwing cold water on Jahmyr Gibbs. It's like, he's going to be fine. It was just more like initially, it's going to just take some time. Not every running back hits the ground running and can play all these snaps and can handle pass protection and some of the other harder elements of professional football. It's a truth. But also it's just, he's still explosive. He's still efficient as a pass catcher. He's going to be fine. But looking at like Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond, both those guys used to be.
Khalif Raymond's another great example.
They're both used to be Titans. The Titans have been desperate for receivers for a few years now. Oh, let's get Julio Jones. Let's DeAndre Hopkins has been positive this year, but they're getting all these retreads. The guys that they brought in that they just cast away, it's like, the Lions are turning those guys into such positive contributors. And like, not just like in a couple plays, it's consistent first downs, touchdowns, huge explosive plays. And they're doing nothing but positive things, and they're doing all the little things as well. It's like that's what those margins, that's what it is. If you just have no real true weaknesses, and guys are just going, this guy takes a turn, this guy takes turns. We got a big moment. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta is stepping out. They just nailed both of their second round picks. I think he set the record for most catches through his first 4 games, beating
that was one of the things I was concerned about, is because if that was going to be your big pass catching addition this offseason in terms of a 3-down player outside of Gibbs, tight ends come along so slowly that I was worried that they weren't going to add enough to this passing game for them to take the next step forward and really belong with the big boys in the NFL. And he's been an instant contributor, which is so encouraging. And he's another great example, somebody that they brought in. We're already seeing the best version of him. And what they've done on defense and just the attitude they're playing with on defense, especially after the way the first half of last season went, it's really nice to see. They feel like a complete, well-coached football team. That is what the Lions feel like right now. And damn, that has to feel good if you're a Lions fan after the way the last couple of decades have gone.
I mean, even last year, they played a lot of man coverage, and it felt like they just did it out of desperation. Like, we can't run anything else, whatever. This year, they run man coverage. And it's like, no, it's because we're going to kick your ass.
We got guys.
It's like, we got guys, and we're taking it to you, and we're jumping routes, and we're taking advantage of the opportunities we get and get the ball back into our offense's hands. We talked about this on our preview show. It's like, it's a complete game sometimes when you have an offense that can be as efficient as this Lions offense and throw those big punches. The first touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown, I got to talk about real quick. So the Lions go, when they go tempo, they run stick a lot, which is a flat and quick out routes. And they ran a pump route off tempo to Amon-Ra St. Brown as a walk-in touchdown because the DB bit on it so hard. And I was like, oh,
just a beautiful little change up. As soon as they did it, and you saw that oh shit moment from Russell.
Yes.
He was like, uh-oh. It was
it went tempo because they beat the camera like by a split second. I was like, I think this is what happened. Yeah, but it was just the double move there. That is just subverting tropes right there. And that's what they do. When they have their chances, they throw these big punches, and they usually connect. Like, that's what Ben Johnson, that is what he's good at. That first 15, he's going to maximize it, and they're going to get points on the board. And then they kind of tread water the rest of the game. They have some good and some bad, but now you got to beat them when their defense is playing this well and this complete. So that, I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row, and week 1 against the Chiefs. I mean, that's some good games, and the Seahawks are playing well. So they went toe to toe with the Seahawks. It's like, man, this Lions team is just putting together good game after good game.
And I honestly don't even think that they've really settled in yet offensively. They've thrown a couple worthwhile haymakers, like 3 or 4 a game over the first 4 weeks, but down to down, their consistency probably isn't what it can be in the long run. So I think there's another level this team can even reach offensively, which is really, really nice to see. Even like the end around to Khalif Raymond, like those are your chunk plays you're getting in this game. They ran the ball fine. You know, David Montgomery is
never going away.
3.7 yards a carry and a couple touchdowns a game. I've really been enjoying that. But that's what they are right now. You know,
he's an innings eater. He's gonna get you 6-7 innings. He's gonna throw 100 pitches. It's not gonna be efficient, but he's gonna get those outs. He's gonna limit you to about 2 or 3 runs. But that's what he is as a running back. That's what he is.
The drive that I want to point out is the drive after the Jordan Love draw touchdown that came after the debatable completion to Jaden Reed. The Lions come out, and on the first play of the drive, Goff checks into a little swing to Montgomery because he sees the pressure coming. Completion to Montgomery goes for like 9 yards. Drive gets started as they need to pick up a first down. Next play, second and short, they run a little play action to Montgomery hitting out into the flat. Another completion on play action on a run down. Later in that drive, they hit a chunk to Josh Reynolds down the left sideline, another early down play action in a situation that would seem like they're going to run the ball to chew up clock. It's something small. You know, it's not the craziest thing in the world, but just an example of how put together this unit is, this play caller is, and this quarterback is within these circumstances. So that's the type of team that they are right now. You watch them on offense and just think there's a lot of good stuff here. I mean, again, it's, do they need one more element to it? Maybe when Jameson Williams gets back, would I like to see them be a little bit more efficient on the ground in terms of the success rate and with that offensive line? Yes. But there's just so much to like about the way they approach that side of the ball and the way the defense is playing right now. And again, if you're a Lions fan, you got to feel pretty damn good.
Yeah, the confidence they have, both sides of the ball. The defense is, of course, more brash, but the quiet confidence that kind of Goff plays with, and just, I mean, it actually kind of has some similarities too. Like they're not the same tier, I don't think, but those Rams teams that Goff was on, because that's how Goff is. You take the identity of your quarterback. And the fourth down, there's 2 fourth downs. One was at the very end of the game when they were just burning clock. They threw the ball on a 4th and 4, 4th and 5. I know they're up a couple scores and it's a little bit low risk, but they're chucking the rock. They're just throwing the ball and they're hitting it, completing it. That's confidence. And then I think the respect that they're getting, like it was gonna be a fourth down and goal at the 4-yard line, and the Packers accepted a penalty on 3rd down to make them repeat the play and make it 3rd and 14 and like go on 3rd down again, because they were worried about the Lions going for it on 4th down. Like, that is the respect that this Lions team is getting. It's like, oh my God, they're just relentless and they're aggressive. And also it's just like, the Packers do like have some flashes and have some moments. They're such a young team. And that's what it felt like tonight for them, that they felt super young. And it felt like the Lions teams of old, almost like from a couple of years ago. That's just kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, the Quay Walker moment is a young moment.
Yes.
I mean, he's had several of those over his first couple years. I don't think that swings the game at all, especially when the biggest play offensively for the Packers in that game came when the clock hit 0 at the end of the 3rd quarter. So it all evens out in the wash.
And something new. I didn't know that it had to be. I thought it was a full count. I knew that, but I knew that for the play clock.
For the play clock, but not for the game
I didn't know
clock.
that. I learned that new. That was new. I learned tonight. Yeah, the game clock, and you can't review it. Did not know that either. So that was new as well.
The Packers, this always was going to be, no matter how it unfolded, even if they were a 12-win team or they were a 7-win team, this is an intermediate year on the way to something else. And tonight really felt like that in a negative way, where you have a quarterback who is going to spray some balls. We know this. Even when he's played well over the first couple of weeks, he's going to spray some throws. Yep. And there were some rough decisions on those first couple drives. Like that tip interception that Anzalone gets a hand on, that doesn't need to be thrown. Like the safety was going to blow that up, even if Anzalone doesn't get a hand on it. So there are some moments where I think he's really trusting the structure of some of these plays, rightfully so, with Matt LaFleur and with the way this offense has looked at times, but he's got a long way to go. He's in start number 5. Yeah. And now you have an offensive line that is just in tatters. And we haven't really noticed it over the last couple of weeks. They've been able to function despite of it. But you saw so many moments, especially in that first half, where you got a backup left tackle, you got a backup left guard, and you got a front on the other side of the ball that's playing really well. It's just hard to sustain offense when you're at that sort of talent deficiency up front throughout the entire game against the defense that's playing as well as Detroit's is right now.
Yeah. Again, it's just a young team. It's who steps up. There's just the quiet mistakes. The second Love interception when Dobbs, I think it was, took the route high. It was kind of like an extended play. That's just like a youth moment. They're just getting these reps together. And these are game reps on Thursday Night Football. And you're not really just getting those kind of under the radar games. So where they can work these things out and these mistakes. But the offensive line stuff, I don't want to get into Bakhtiari stuff right now, but like just the Bakhtiari going on IR. Okay. That's been a whole thing. He's on IR now. But that's been a whole thing with the tackles is like, okay, is he playing? Okay, now he's not. We knew that. Okay, but now that's a thing. Okay, your day one starting left tackle is already out. Your day one left guard, who is a star, is out. And so, okay, those are supposed to be our vets of our offense and our
Think about what they looked like in week 1 when that group was all playing together. And then think about what they look like tonight. It's night and day. It's truly night and day. It goes from one of the best offensive lines in the league to an offensive line that's a concern. That's how big of a swing we're looking at over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's just the second. We got to watch the second half to like see the positives of the offensive line, but the first half was awful. They just had so many. Again, when these guys aren't starting, we're seeing around the league, especially on play action stuff, is just. And I talked about with the Falcons. I think that was just in our pre-show. We're just hanging out, but it's a lot of the spacing between these linemen is really off right now. And that's these Shanahan offenses or these zone heavy offenses with the play action looks too take time, and they take time to meld. And I think we'll see improvement from some of these teams that kind of have youth along their line or youth among their players, but it's just, that's going to happen, especially against a defense that is really playing like high octane right now.
Any worries about the Packers defense at all and the way that they played in this game?
Oh my God. A little bit, but it kind of felt more of the same in the run game, but it was like, no one's going to really play like the Lions do as far as
that. Like they were getting gashed left and
right.
I mean,
it wasn't 12-yard games or 20-yard games. They didn't feel like those big plays. There's just a couple. So I don't know. I actually thought some of the guys were pass rushing really well, like the young guys. Carl Brooks. He's like the 6th-round rookie who's like
they've got a lot of youth and
positive. Yeah.
they've got some enticing young players in that area of the
Yeah.
roster. And
Seriously.
Rashawn Gary's still not back full time.
Jair
Jair
Alexander
Alexander
didn't
didn't play today.
Yeah.
It was a weird game for Rasul Douglas. We already mentioned the Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown. He had a couple rough moments in the first half,
Yeah.
but I thought played much better in the second half.
I think it was him when
through the first 2 quarters.
they did the first quarter. It was like they just were just like, okay, they just felt tired. I think it was Douglas that got beat by that Goff dime to Laporta, but it's like, what are you going to do? You have perfect coverage. You're running for him step by step, and it just goes into one spot that you can't get it. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do? It's just not your night.
Seams and in breakers, man. He can rip
He'll
the
rip
shit
them
out of those.
He'll rip them. If he's in rhythm, he rips them as good as anybody. It's like that's Goff when he's playing, when he's on fire is really, really fun. Like when he's on fire.
I tweeted out a clip of like the 3 throws he had against the Seahawks where he's really throwing some seeds this year. Within that offense, he's really enjoyable to watch. So a down game for a young Packers team. It's going to be a frustrating year at times. I think that we can probably predict that, especially with some of those injuries up front. I think with the youth that they have up front on defense and Gary getting off that pitch count eventually, they're going to be better on that side of the ball. But I think the story of this game is just a real reminder of what kind of team the Detroit Lions are fielding right now.
Yeah. We our pre-show talking about, we're both like high on them, but also just trying to be realistic. Okay, you're relying on younger players. You didn't bring some of the weaknesses that you had. You didn't really, you're really relying on players that you already had as well.
Yeah.
And we also said that, okay, maybe the offense regresses a little bit. Maybe they're not top 4, top 5, top 6, and they're more 10, 12. Okay, can the defense, shore that up? And it's like, yeah. I mean, like first month of the season, it's like, yeah, they've kind of answered those questions so far. So it's like credit to the Lions. I think all of their wins are quote unquote quality wins, against good opponents. Like it'd be like March Madness. Like that's what it feels like. It's like that's a quality win on their resume right now. So
on the road against quality opponents in 2 primetime games here over
the
first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
As part of that conversation heading into the season, I acknowledge that even if I was a little bit concerned about them not addressing certain areas and relying on in-house development in certain areas, Brett Holmes, Dan Campbell, and this staff deserves the benefit of the doubt to this point. They have done a very good job, like we said, of getting the most out of the guys who've come into that building so far. And I absolutely left the door open for that to be the way that this unfolded, with the way that they spent their draft capital, with the way that they addressed certain position groups in the offseason, that there was a world where this would all come together and they would, again, deserve the benefit of the doubt. They would be proven right about how they tried to build this thing. It's very early. They could run into some walls and some dead ends here over the course of the season, but 4 weeks in, the returns are very good about the way that this group and this brass approach this roster throughout the spring and the summer.
They for better for worse, they have a type of player that they go after at every position. They like football players. I mean, that's the best way I could put it. Even getting guys like Josh Reynolds, bringing him up again. Got to remember where his origins were with the Rams and blocking his ass off and doing dirty work and being a part of that. That's what this team is all about, is everybody do their job. And that's why they can, really beat other teams down, especially if they don't have all the quality players that they have. They have backups playing. It's just over time, they just wear you down. That's why those David Montgomery rounds were 3-3-3-3. And then it turned 6-6-6-6, 8-8-8. At least that's what it felt like in the fourth quarter. But that's what they're doing. They're just going to kind of just keep coming at you. It's really cool because it matches the head coach. It's like you see a lot of coaches talk a hot game, especially like in college, and then you watch their teams. They're like, okay, we're going to play hard-nosed football, and then like on 4th and 1, they're in the gun, and like all this stuff. And it's like, okay, what are you about? Dan Campbell, they match them. They're smart, they're tough, and they're physical, and it's a very cool team to watch.
We use the word identity a lot.
Yeah.
This team has one.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And it is impressive to have developed that in the couple years that we've seen Dan Campbell and we've seen this group together. I'll never forget. I mean, it's always fun. You look back at parts of this show and some of the conversations that we've had over and how teams develop. And late season in 2021, talking about that Lions team and just being like, man, they play hard. They just play so hard. They don't have a lick of talent, but they play hard, and being excited about what that meant for the future. And all of that has been justified. All of that has come home. And I'm very happy for the Lions fans in my life. One of my friend Hannah, she's not really a football fan, but her dad loves the Lions. So she's really started watching the Lions this year. She has an Isaiah Buggs jersey because she thought it was funny. So Isaiah Buggs getting his second career sack today. Big moment for my friend Hannah and all the Lions fans in my life.
I always love a player that looks like their name. Isaiah Buggs. Isaiah Buggs could only play one position. You're not going to see an Isaiah Buggs playing tight end.
Isaiah Buggs fits the identity that we're talking about right now. Yes. When you watch Isaiah Buggs play, him and Aleem McNeil, who's actually turned into a very, very good player. All right, that is all we got. Please go check out our Week 4 preview, available in your podcast feed. If you want to watch it on YouTube, it's available there as well. We will be back right here on Sunday night, recapping all of the Week 4 action. We talked so much about Bills-Dolphins during our preview show. If that game isn't good, I don't know what I'm going to do when we get to the Sunday night recap show. I assume that it will be. So I am very excited about that one and a lot of other stuff that's happening. So please go check out that show. That is all we've got for now. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you soon.